thought I knew my son better than anyone, until a simple DNA test destroyed everything I believed about us.it. Tears and truth. We give voice to the stories people are too afraid to say out loud. Confessions are powerful. They help us heal, understand, and sometimes just survive. If you've ever questioned your truth, you're not alone. Don't forget to subscribe to Tears and Truth, where every story reveals the pain behind the silence and the truth behind the tears. Tap the bell icon so you never miss a new release. This story begins in a quiet suburb in Sydney, Australia, in the warm spring of 2015, back when I thought being a single mother was the hardest part of my journey. I had raised my son, Liam, for nearly 10 years. I knew his every scar, every fear, every laugh. Or so I believed. I was 27 when I had Liam. His birth wasn't planned, but from the moment I held him in my arms, the world seemed to pause. Everything changed, the way I walked, the way I talked, even the way I dreamed. His tiny fists curled around my finger, and somehow, I knew I'd never be alone again. Liam's father, Nick, was never really in the picture. He disappeared soon after I told him I was pregnant. I cried for nights, but eventually I stopped chasing ghosts. I moved in with my sister in Parramatta, got a part-time job at a florist, and focused on being the best mom I could be. Liam was smart, too smart. By the time he was 4, he could read signs, count to 100, and ask questions that made my brain ache. He once asked me if trees breathed like we did, and when I said yes, he ran up and hugged one in the park. He was kind too, kind in the way that reminded me of my own mother before she passed. I saw so much of myself in him, it never crossed my mind to question a thing. But life wasn't easy. Being a single mother came with its own quiet battles. I skipped dinners so he could have seconds. I didn't date, not seriously anyway. The few men I did meet quickly backed off when they realized Liam wasn't just a part of my life. He was my life. And I was proud of that point. One day, Liam came home from school with a family tree project. He was 9, maybe 10, and had drawn a beautiful crooked tree with our names. He said, "Mom, can you tell me more about Dad's side? We're supposed to include both families." I froze. It wasn't that I hadn't told him about Nick. I had vaguely, but I had buried that chapter so deep, I couldn't imagine digging it up now. Still, I owed him something. So I told him the basics. His dad was tall, had green eyes, and played guitar. That was all I really remembered, to be honest. The rest was fog. Liam looked disappointed but didn't push. He just went back to coloring in the tree. Later that night, something gnawed at me. I kept wondering, should I try to find Nick? For Liam's sake? Was it fair to deny him half his roots? A week later, curiosity turned into action. I ordered a basic DNA ancestry kit. It was just for fun, I told myself. To give Liam something, anything, for his project. I didn't expect much. Maybe some heritage info. A cousin or two. What I got back. The part gnawing at my brain. I stared at the results until the screen blurred through my tears. My palms were sweating. My stomach churned. I was not biologically related to the boy I had raised for nearly a decade. I didn't sleep that night. By morning, I was spiraling. I dropped Liam off at school like nothing had happened. But inside, everything was unraveling. I called the DNA company and begged for an explanation. "I'm sorry, ma'am," the woman on the line said gently. "I understand this is upsetting, but we're extremely accurate. If you're not seeing a biological match to yourself, then you may need to consider whether there was a hospital mix-up, or if another biological parent is involved." Her words crushed me. A hospital mix-up? Was that even possible? I had delivered Liam at the public hospital in Westmead. It was chaotic that night. There were 2 emergency deliveries back-to-back. I was on heavy meds. My sister wasn't even allowed in the room. Could it be? I sat in silence for hours, staring at Liam's baby photos. He had always looked different from me. His skin slightly darker, his eyes almond-shaped, his hair thick and black. But I never questioned it. Genetics are weird, I told myself. Maybe he took after Nick's side. I had no photos of Nick. No way to compare. That afternoon, when Liam came home from school, he plopped down beside me and started talking about his art class. I looked at him, his smile, his mannerisms, the way he tapped his pencil when he was thinking. I couldn't imagine loving anyone more. But now I was terrified. Terrified of what the truth might mean. Terrified that someone else, another mother, was out there, wondering where her son had gone. terrified that mine had never really been mine. The next morning, I called the hospital. My voice was shaking as I spoke to the records department. I delivered my son there in 2015. I think there might have been a mix-up. The silence on the other end of the line was heavy. Then came the careful, measured response. We take those claims very seriously. Can you come in for a meeting? 2 days later, I sat across from an administrator, a nurse manager, and a legal representative in a small conference room that smelled like hand sanitizer and paper. I brought the DNA results and a photo of Liam as a baby. I didn't know what else to do, what else to bring, to prove that I wasn't crazy. The hospital agreed to begin an internal review. They pulled birth records, compared times, verified wristband codes. And then something happened that chilled me to my core. A nurse walked into the room, holding a folder. She whispered something to the administrator, who suddenly turned very pale. I think we need to speak with you privately, he said. We may have found something. They discovered that on the night Liam was born, 2 male infants had been delivered within 18 minutes of each other. Both premature, both placed in the NICU. Both had wristbands that were handwritten, due to a temporary printer issue. Handwritten. There was a documented complaint in the file. A NICU nurse had mentioned confusion about one of the baby's wristbands not matching the mother's ID. The note was signed and ignored. Buried. I left that meeting numb. What followed were weeks of quiet terror. The hospital promised to notify the other family discreetly. They couldn't release names due to privacy laws, but they said that, if the other parents agreed, contact could be arranged. I waited, and waited. Every moment with Liam felt magnified now. When he spilled juice, I didn't scold him. When he asked for one more bedtime story, I read 3. I watched him sleep and cried silently, wondering how much more time I had before everything would be ripped apart. Then, the call came. The other mother had agreed to meet. Her name was Angela. She lived only 40 minutes away. She was married, had 2 kids, one of whom apparently was biologically mine. We agreed to meet in a neutral location. A family counselor's office. I don't think I breathed for the first 10 minutes. Angela was in her early 30s, wearing a soft blue blouse and minimal makeup. She looked like someone you'd trust with your secrets. Her husband, Jason, sat beside her, gripping her hand. Across from me, I was alone. The counselor began with a quiet introduction. Then Angela leaned forward and said, "His name is Ethan. He just turned 10. He loves space documentaries and Legos. He's a sweet kid. And I think you'd love him." My throat closed up. I couldn't find the words. Then I showed her a picture of Liam. Angela gasped, covering her mouth. Tears filled her eyes. That's my nose," she whispered. "Oh my God." It was like looking into a mirror of shattered glass. We decided not to tell the boys right away. Angela and I needed time. Time to grieve the truth, time to process our choices, time to figure out what family even meant now. The counselor advised us to take it slow. There was no rule book for this. Only emotion. Liam remained blissfully unaware of the storm raging just beyond the walls of our home. He still made fart jokes at dinner, still hugged me tight before bed, still whispered, "I love you, Mom," when he thought I was asleep. Every time he said it, I felt guilt, because even though I wasn't his biological mother, I was his mother. I had kissed every scraped knee, stayed up with every fever, taught him to ride a bike and tie his shoes and say please and thank you. Biology couldn't undo that. But still, the question haunted me. Would he want to know the truth? Would he look at me differently once he found out? Angela and I met 3 more times. We talked about schools, habits, even sleep schedules. We swapped baby photos. And one day, she showed me a video of Ethan, the boy I had given birth to. He had my eyes. The resemblance was undeniable. He furrowed his brows the same way I did when he was confused. His laugh was light, high-pitched, just like mine as a child. And that's when I broke. I sobbed for everything I had missed. His first word, his first tooth, his first Christmas. 10 entire years of what should have been. Angela put a hand on my arm. "I can't imagine what you're going through," she said softly. "But I want us to get through this together." And so we planned something radical. A picnic. A quiet Saturday afternoon in a local park. Just new friends meeting to let the boys play. No pressure, no truths, just observation. Liam and Ethan clicked almost instantly. They were both obsessed with space. Within minutes, they were building a mini solar system out of sticks and bottle caps that I watched them side by side and felt something shift inside me. I was seeing my biological child for the first time, and yet, I couldn't take my eyes off the one I had raised. Later that night, Liam asked, "Who were those people, Mom?" I smiled carefully. "Just some new friends. Do you like them?" "Yeah," he nodded. "Ethan's cool. He's like, weird like me." I laughed. "Yeah, he kind of is." The truth didn't come that night, or the next, but the weight of it sat like a stone on my chest. Eventually, Angela and I agreed it was time. The boys were old enough, smart enough. They deserved the truth, delivered gently, lovingly, and with room for all the emotions that would follow. That I wrote everything down. Every detail, every date, every mistake and every choice. And when the time came to sit Liam down, I held his hand and read him the letter. He didn't cry right away. He just stared at me. "So, you're not my real mom?" I felt like I'd been stabbed. "I'm not your biological mom," I said carefully, "but I am your real mom. I raised you. I've loved you every single day." He was quiet for a long time. Then, with tears welling in his eyes, he asked, "Are you going to give me away?" My heart shattered. "No, baby. Never. Never, ever. You are my son. No test can change that." He crawled into my lap just like he did when he was little and cried into my shirt. And I held him, and I cried too. The days after the confession were fragile. Liam was quiet at first. Not distant, just thoughtful. Like he was sorting a giant puzzle in his mind. Some nights he'd come into my room just to lie next to me. No words, just presence. Other nights, he'd ask the same question in different ways. Why did this happen? Did they know? Do I have to live with them now? Each time, I answered with honesty, and always with love. This wasn't your fault, or mine, or theirs, but you're not going anywhere unless you choose to. Angela told me Ethan's reaction was different, almost the opposite. He got angry, punched a pillow, locked himself in the bathroom. "Why did you lie to me?" he yelled through the door. Her husband had to break the lock. Ethan didn't speak for a full day after that. And when he did, he whispered, "I want to meet her." We set another meeting at the park. Only this time, no pretending. No games. Just 4 parents and 2 confused, beautiful boys walking toward the strangest reality we'd ever known. When I saw Ethan again, my heart did something I didn't expect. It ached to hug him. And when I finally did, when his skinny arms wrapped awkwardly around me, I broke again. He was stiff at first, but then he relaxed. Just a little. "Hi," I whispered. "I'm Claire. I'm your birth mom." He looked up at me with a furrowed brow, like he was memorizing my face. "You look like me," he said flatly. Then after a pause, "Do you like space too?" I smiled. "I love space." That was enough. For now. In the months that followed, we created something unconventional, but real. Weekends became shared time. Angela and Jason came over for dinner some Fridays. Liam stayed with them once a month. Ethan started calling me Mama Claire, first only in private, then once to my face in public, and I excused myself to cry in the bathroom. We enrolled both boys in the same summer science camp. They became best friends. Sometimes, they'd refer to each other as brothers. Other times, just my other me. People didn't always understand. Family members questioned us. My own parents struggled with the idea that Liam wasn't technically their grandson. I had to shut that down quickly. He's as much mine as if I gave birth to him twice, and they eventually understood. But some nights, I still grieved. Grieved the baby I didn't get to rock at midnight. The giggles I never heard from a toddler I once carried inside me. The scraped knees I didn't bandage. But I also celebrated. Celebrated Liam's every achievement. His school play, his love of painting, the day he biked without training wheels. I was there. I saw those moments. And no DNA test could erase that. One night, as I tucked Liam into bed, he turned to me and said, "You know what's funny? I have 2 moms now, but I still only want you to make my pancakes." I smiled, fighting tears. "Deal." And then he added, "Ethan's lucky too. He gets to have you in his life, even if he didn't for a while." Out of the mouths of children, Truth. It's not a story wrapped in a bow. It never will be. There are scars we'll all carry, questions that will never be fully answered. But there's also something deeper. Love redefined. Love not based on biology, but on presence, on showing up, on 10 years of bedtime stories, school projects, runny noses, and warm hugs after bad dreams. I raised my son for 10 years, believing he was mine. And even after the truth, he still is.